Good morning. Welcome to the first stream of the new year. Today is Saturday, January 11th. Took a little break the last weekend. Planned to stream on Sunday last weekend and just needed an extra day. So here we are. 9 a.m. on Saturday. This is not the normal time. And 9 a.m. on a Saturday is different than 9 a.m. on a weekday, but we're up and at 'em. So have coffee. Yay, Monique is here. Welcome. Welcome. I'm in the process of making a final decision on which, let's get over to the screen, on which of my many mock-ups I would like to build, and I think this is what I've landed on. And this is called Ocean. And if I'm being honest, all of the mock-ups that I have are very similar. So yeah, I don't think this is a slider. I definitely want it to be a blog layout, and everything that I build I put on GitHub, and it will be available open source for anybody who wants to fork it, modify it, use it for their own project. Totally open source for other people to use. But full disclosure, I have a reason for wanting to build this because I have a project in mind that I also want to use it for. So, and the stream is the perfect place to do it. I like everything about it. So if we look kind of close here, we've got two different fonts, and I am going to try to I like the idea of staying as true to the font selections as possible. We've got a serif font for our titles, but we have a sans serif font for our sort of our normal text and our what I would call kind of ancillary text. It's blended, right? Like we're using a serif in all caps on the sidebar. And so for basically our titles, I would call these things like, where's my mouse? Here we go. I would call, when you have these little sidebar sections here, first of all, I generally put sidebars in an aside element. An aside is related. It's like indirectly ancillary related. I don't know what, you could look it up on MDN. That's how I understand it. And my titles for a sidebar, I generally do as H3s. I wouldn't arm wrestle you over an H2 though. So, but I usually do an H3. So yeah, we have kind of a good mix here of serif and sans serif fonts, and I'm fine with that. I think serif fonts make things look a little more formal and put together, just a personal opinion. And then we also have social icons for sharing, and that's really easy to implement. Oh, hello, coding professional. Let's see here. Hello. Welcome. Happy to have you. Implementing social sharing icons is really easy. I did it here within just the last couple of years where I work. So I have code kind of tucked away that we can use for that. It's really easy to implement. Not all of these things that are happening here in this sidebar are things that we are going to do, because a lot of this I think is hang on here, I was in the wrong screen. I bought these years ago, back when I was a WordPress developer, and I don't do WordPress anymore. So a lot of these things I bought because I had the WordPress ecosystem in mind when I thought I was going to build these things. But that's fine. We can still build these as static as static web pages. You can still blog. You don't need a database to blog. You can still manage that content yourself. But they've got other layouts here. I like this because, as you know, I'm a fan of masonry layouts. This would be a more traditional blog page because well, technically this is a slider. We have the text for the body. Ooh, one moment. Sorry about that. So this is definitely a blog layout. Again, we have social sharing buttons. We've got a space for tags. We have an author area, related posts, which in WordPress, related posts are usually done through the tagging. What's the word I'm thinking of? Taxonomy. Usually use some sort of taxonomy structure to get related posts, and then comments, things like that. I mean, I'm definitely going to build all of these things out because I think that anybody who does WordPress who's looking for a built-out HTML, CSS layout could definitely take this and easily implement it into a WordPress theme. Let's see here. This looks like also, this would be like a full width blog layout, so no sidebar. Can definitely build that. This would be more of just like a basic page structure. Here's a contact page. And they designed a flyout navigation. So this is navigation obviously for mobile. I'm not going to do both. This was, back, I bought this probably in 2014 or 2015, and not a lot of designers at that time were going out of their way to build mobile mockups. So it's typical to see both a desktop navigation and mobile navigation all on the desktop layout. So I'm not going to do both, but they did at least map out mobile navigation for us. And here's search. And we've done all of this. We've already done all of these things on past live streams, so this should not be difficult for us to do. I find it to be very relaxing to build layouts like this. Let's talk a little bit about, I'm just going to go ahead and do this homepage. It's definitely complex, but it's going to keep us busy for a couple of weekends. So we have 3 images, and then these areas will be overlays over the images. That's how I'm treating these 3 areas. I don't see anything that says this is a slider, so that's good. I'm not really in the mood to build a slider initially. I'm open to it on some inner pages, but not for the home page. I'm not in the mood for it. So this is, again, very blog focused, and yeah, I like it. So let's go ahead and get started. I have decided what we are building. So let's get this. I'm just going to get this home page into Affinity Photo, and we'll set up our project. And today the plan is to just build HTML. We're just going to HTML. We'll see how far we get. I have a hard cutoff at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is about 2 hours from now. Look at that. Fits perfectly. And then, oh yeah, and it looks like, okay, clearly that was a custom font. Okay, and we do have some guides. So this is, I cannot see, this is 1900 pixels wide. And what is that? About 350 to 1550. What is that? Can't do math this early in the morning. So we have 1900 minus, I'm just going to say 1550. Yeah, so 350 times 2, 700. So 1200. Okay, Angela, 1200. You could handle that. So it's a 12 column layout. So we'll treat it like a 12 column layout. I'm not going to use any frameworks or libraries. we're gonna use Flexbox. I'm gonna roll my own when it comes to the grid and the columns. So I tend to use a lot of percentages. I guess I could. I mean, we're not gonna be getting into we're not going to be styling the layout today. I could in SAS build a grid, like some grid includes. I'll see what I'm in the mood for tomorrow. But I tend to use a lot of percentages. So okay, so let's just start with an index.html. We can go ahead and do. I like to use SAS, so that's what I'm going to do. We'll add a folder for JavaScript. We're not going to be writing any JavaScript today. Going to do a git ignore, and we'll start a repository. Do we need anything else to get started? I don't think so. And we can go ahead and pop this into the browser. We'll use a little live server. Hang on. Stop. There we go. And then let's just let's call this blog website. And we're going to say header. And we'll pop some lorem ipsum in here. Oh, and Bailey has entered the chat. Good morning. Oh, come on. Good morning, Bailey. Thank you for joining us. Happy to see you. We'll do main, class, main, and we'll just pop some lorem ipsum in here for now. Let's get a class header. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this. I mean, I'm glad I took last weekend off. I needed that. This was a busy holiday for me. My last couple of holidays were not like this. My last couple of holidays, last couple of years, so quiet. And this holiday, really busy. There we go. Okay. We are cooking with fire. We are cooking with gas. Cooking with fire, cooking with gas. And I was just I find I am at a point in my front end career where this is the part of working on projects that I find to be the most relaxing and enjoyable. So I was really looking forward to it. Okay, so let's get into a good flow here. Where's our... All right, I think I'm gonna... There we go. Oh. There we go. So let's go grab some... I'm not going to worry about fonts today. Let's just grab our SVGs and get our markup in. So we might have to look at our preview. I bet that was built with Font Awesome. How much you want to bet? That's why they're not showing up. Yeah. I mean, I know Font Awesome is still popular, but it was really popular back in the day. So Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. I'm gonna do Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. No, Instagram, LinkedIn, and GitHub. No, I want to do Pinterest. I like Pinterest. I'm going to do Instagram, Pinterest, GitHub, and LinkedIn. So let's grab some fonts. Here's GitHub. Let's go to our projects. Yes, just have fun and enjoy the process. Agreed. I'm definitely at a point where I I really like the process of starting a new project. I mean, I for a lot of things. I am also a knitter and a crocheter and a spinner. Anything fiber I love, and I have the same. I feel the same way about anything new that I'm starting, any new creative project that I'm starting. I just love the process of starting and working on something new. So, and then we'll do LinkedIn. All right. Oh, where are you? Okay. There we go. So for the header, we're gonna do switch over here. So for the header, we're gonna have one container for social nav icons, and I do consider that navigation because it takes you someplace else, right? Then we've got logo, and then we've got what is that? Okay, search icon, and then mobile navigation. And the hamburger menu will not appear on desktop. We'll go ahead and get that in today. Search icon, of course, will appear on desktop. So let's go grab a search icon. So that will be like our top container, like a div basically. And then we'll do a nav element with our navigation. And our desktop navigation can still serve as our mobile navigation. The way this layout is structured, it can do both. So, it's also okay if you need to have two sets of navigation on in the DOM, one for mobile and one for desktop. That's okay. I know some people say it isn't. It is. You can do that right. Oh, okay. And I'm using GitHub Copilot. How do I feel about GitHub Copilot helping me? I mean, um, I'm gonna turn it off. I don't want GitHub Copilot's help. Um, how do I turn GitHub? How do I turn it off? I don't want your help. I can do it myself. Manage Copilot settings. Okay. Okay. How do I turn off? Hang on. I guess I have to ask for help, don't I? How do I turn off GitHub Copilot for certain pages in VS Code? Let's see here. So Bailey says, I was actually going to ask you about that. I find myself mostly making two navs, one for desktop, one for mobile. It just feels like I have more control that way. Yeah, I think it just depends on the layout. I've worked places where that like there were maybe a group of SEO people who were like, absolutely not, please do not do that. And I've worked places where people were like, yeah, it's fine because there are screen reader and SEO friendly ways to hide things in the DOM, and that's okay. And I know different people have different opinions about hiding things. I think it's okay. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and it depends on the layout, and it depends on your level of experience and how comfortable you are transitioning between those two things. You can absolutely do both. My preference is that I don't have to do both, but you can. Just keep in mind, in a content management system, when you're querying a database, it's a lot easier to maintain two sets of navigation, right? If you have a static website or you're managing content and links separately, you just want to make sure, it can be a little cumbersome to manage two sets of navigation. So you just want to make sure that you have a good system in place for managing your nav. So you don't have to constantly change everything in two places. So, okay. Open VS Code. Click on the gear icon in the bottom left. Type Copilot. Locate GitHub Copilot excluded file paths. Settings. Hang on. Short-term memory, yes. Settings. In the search bar, type Copilot. Locate excluded file paths. Enable or disable Copilot completions for specified languages. No, this would be a false. False. SCSS is also false. Good. Plain text. I don't even know what that is. Markdown, I guess, can be false. I don't care. Wildcard. I'm going to add PHP. Oh, do I want to add PHP? Because no, we can stick with this. I just, no, wait a second. False. I changed you. Hang on. False. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. So we'll just give this a class of, there we go. No, I want this. So I'm just going to call this top header, and then we'll do nav with a class of main nav, and then this will be a, whoops, this will be a UL, then LI. I don't usually give that UL a class unless I need to, and then we'll just call this nav item, and then this will be I'm going to call this nav link, and then this will be the home. Home, features, travel, lifestyle, fashion, about, contact. I'm not going to remember that. Home, features, travel, home, features, travel, lifestyle, fashion, about. By the way, If you're using GitHub Copilot and you enjoy it and it's helpful, please keep using it. Do whatever works for you. Me not wanting to use it does not mean that you should not use it. It is just my preference because I've been doing this for a while, and I'm at a point in my career where if I want help, I will ask for help. I am not afraid to ask for help, and I also have a way that I like to do things, and I just like to do it myself. That's all. So okay, so I'm going to do another nav element, and I'm going to give this a class of social nav. And we're going to do another UL, and then we'll do an LI with a class of social item, and then this will be a link. And let's see. For now, we're going to do a span with a class of access hidden. But I might change my mind. So for now, this is going to be, we'll do GitHub. And then let's find our SVGs. And then this is aria hidden true. Yeah. So we'll do GitHub, LinkedIn, this will be Instagram. And then this is going to be Pinterest. All right, where is our browser? Beautiful. Perfect. Exactly what I was hoping to see. Giant, unstyled SVGs. I'll go back to 100%. Perfect. All right. What's next? We have a logo. What is our logo going to be? For now, our logo will be the ocean. I am fine with that. Let's collapse this. So for this, I'm just going to put a div with a class of, I'm just going to say main logo. And I mean, I am going to make this an H1. I do want to make it an H1, but I don't want it to be an H1 on all of the inner pages. So we'll have to really consider that when we start building out inner pages. And we are going to build out every single page in this template for the next couple of months. This is what we're working on. But here's the thing. When you build the home page and you build the header and the footer and the navigation and you make everything responsive and you get your grid set up and your Flexbox and you define all your styles, you're like 50% done with your website just by fully building out your first page, because the header and the footer and all those styles that you define are the things that you use for everything else. So building out the additional pages should not be hard. They'll be work, they shouldn't be hard because you've defined so many things. So I have to, before, when we really get into styling, I'll have to make some more decisions. I haven't done the full project planning for this because it wasn't really about project planning. It was about just digging in and doing the building. And that's okay. You can make some decisions on the fly too. That's that the whole point of having a pre-made mock-up is that you can jump in and get started. So my point, the point of this tangent is that when we build the inner pages, if this logo is an H1, we don't want it to be an H1 on inner pages. You want the title of the page to be the H1. So we just have to have a plan for that if it's not the home page. So that's my point. That was a long rambling point. So I'm going to call this the primary logo. And then again, I'm going to do, no, I'm not going to do a span. Well, yeah, I will do a span because we'll just call it the ocean. We'll just build it exactly the way it appears. So we'll say the, and then I'll do another span with ocean. And we might change that in the future. We'll see. Okay. And then we're going to do, I'm going to do another div for the search icon and the hamburger menu. And we'll give this a class of I'm just going to call these right buttons. Okay. And then our first button, we'll say, I'm going to say button icon. I'm trying to think about, I want to be able to reuse classes as often as possible. So we'll see button icon. Then I'm going to say span. I mean, you could use a span with access hidden, or you could use ARIA label. I tend to do the span. I'm prepared to have my mind changed in 2025 on this approach though. But for now, this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to say search. And then our other button, oh, I guess we need our hamburger menu. Should we build our own? Let's build our own. Yeah, I've done that before. So it's still going to be a button, and we're going to give this a class of button icon, and let's expand this up here, and we'll say button icon and button search, and then button icon and button menu. And then for this, we'll do a span with the class of access hidden. And we're going to say, I'm going to say open menu, and then ideally we'll write some JavaScript that will change this from open menu to close menu based on the action. And then we're just going to do 3 divs. Just like that. And we're going to use those divs, and we're going to make our own hamburger menu, and then we will also build a transition. So it goes from hamburger menu to X. So we have a nice little animation. All right. So we have our top header, social nav, main logo, and the right set of buttons. And then we have our actual navigation. All right, let's get started on our hero. So the hero is basically it's a full width container, 3 images with 3 overlays. And these overlays will probably be position absolute. That's going to be the easiest way to put them over top. And they have text. So starting in our main, we'll do a section, the class of hero, and then I'm going to use articles, and we'll say, give this a class of hero item, and then we'll do a figure with a class of image, and then we'll do an image. There we go. And let's use some lorem pixum. And I'm gonna do 3 different sizes, because I want to show you how to make sure that you can take any image size, ratio, orientation, or just size and make it proportionally fit any container. So we'll do one that's too small. That's perfect. So we'll say placeholder text lorem pixum. Oh, and that's not what I wanted. What else do we need here? So we could treat this like a caption. I don't think this is a caption though. I think this is a title, because I think that these 3 things will link to, so it's meet the women behind Seoul's coolest concept shop, the 10 best beauty looks, week of March 18th. Yeah, 2016. That's how long I've had this. The mini me denim guide, the best gift for stylish kids. So to me, these are blog posts and these are titles. So I wouldn't treat these like fig captions. I would treat them like H2s. So let's put them in a div so we have a little more control. So we'll do a div with a class of item title, and then these will be H2s with a class of secondary heading. And then there we go. Yeah, that works. So we've got our container, which is the article, the figure tag, the image. The article will be position relative. The figure will be Yeah, we'll figure it out. But this is roughly what I want to have happen here. Grab a couple more. And then for this image, let's do 1024 by 768. And then for this image, let's do 500 by 700. And we'll grab let's change the date. January, what's today, the 11th, 2025. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's our hero. Let's see what's happening on the page. Perfect. I love it. Love it. All right. Next we have, okay, so next we have, so we will want to put this inside of a wrap. So this will be, let's zoom out a little bit. So this will be one big section with articles inside the section. And then the sidebar will be an aside. Yeah. And so for this, let's collapse this. So after the section, I'm going to put a div with a class of, I'm just going to say main wrap. And then we'll put a section. And we can call this, I'm just going to call this blog layout. And then these will be articles. And we can call these blog items. And so what is a blog item? So a blog item is, hang on, come on. So blog item is food and drink. That's probably a category. Then we have a title. Then we have the date. Then we have an image, an excerpt. This is like our call to action, continue reading, like the read more link. Then we have this little section here, comments, taxonomy, and social sharing icons. And this is roughly the same for every post. Only the first post has comments and tags. Only the first post has comments and tags. We've got one post here that only has an image and a title. And then we've got, and then everything sort of follows. So it's either full width, meaning full width inside this section, or it's two images or two side by side. So that helps. So we can put, you can put all of these things in their own container. There's a couple ways to approach it. You can put everything in its own container and flexbox it, or you can just give everything, if it's supposed to be 50%, give it a class for that. If it's supposed to be full width, give it a class for that. We'll try a couple different ways to do it. But there is a way to build this. So if you're using a CMS and you know that this is the layout that you want for your home page, or if you're using a CMS, you could go in on the back end and add your stories, and then you could just say this one should be full width, this one should be side by side, this one should be full width and only show the title. And you should be able to do all of that with classes and have that work. Have that work in your layout. So I tend to think about what the experience is going to be like for a content creator, because everything I build is for a content management system. So I'm very focused on how easy is this going to be for a content creator to implement. So, and then that of course translates well into continue to use it just as a static layout. So, let's see. There we go. Okay. So this is a category, title, date. So we want, so we'll do a div class blog category. And what is it? Food and drink. Title. This is, I'm calling this an H2. Stunning alternative to traditional cake. And then we have the date. And January 11th, 2025. Okay, next we have an image, so we're going to do a figure tag. I'm just going to give the figure the same class because I don't really see myself doing something drastically different than this, but we can add more classes if we need to. And then this is and I'm going to put in 1024 by 768. And I'll just say random lorem pick some image. All right, and then we have our description. So we'll do another div. We'll give this a class of blog description. And we'll do some lorem ipsum, I don't know, 50 characters. Oh, we probably want this to be inside of a paragraph tag. And then I'm going to do another paragraph tag because it's a block level element, but I'm going to give this a class of read more. All right, or continue reading. Yeah, continue reading. Okay, then we have 12 comments, tagged, and social icons. And these social icons, sharing icons, are I mean, I think they're considered navigation. So I'm going to do a div with a class of, what do we call this? Blog. I'm just going to call it blog links. Oh, 1 second. All right. So Monique is asking, will you be including tags for each of the blog posts? So I'm going to style the tags. I have a two-part answer for you. I'm going to style the tags. As a static website, tagging and taxonomy to me is more of a feature of a content management system. Like I'll use WordPress as an example, where you can cross-reference and associate tags with blog posts. So I'm going to include it and style it. But since this is a static website, it won't really work that way. I'm not planning to build out even like a fake API. And by fake API, I just mean like like a JSON file where we would import content via the JSON file. So the purpose of this is to style it so you could take it and implement it with a content management system where presumably that would all be built in because you'd be querying a database. But as a static website, it's not really going to function that way. So, but what you could do, I'm going to style the tags like navigation. I mean, would they be navigation or would they be buttons? Yeah, they would be navigation because you would be going to a URL that shows you a list of posts or blog posts associated with that tag. So I'm going to style it like navigation. And as a static website, you could build those things in yourself by hand. Content management systems do the work for you, but we could still build it that way. And I could show you an example of how you could do that as a static website. I'm happy to show you how to do that. So that's a good idea. If I forget, remind me. But as we build out the inner pages, I'll show you how I would do that, how I would approach that. Is that a good answer? Does that make any sense? I have no idea. Maybe you were just like, all I needed was a yes or no, Angela. Okay, so we'll do, and I'm going to put these, I'm just going to go ahead and put these in spans because spans are inline elements. We might be changing them to display inline block or flexboxing them. So we'll say class blog comment count, and we'll say, what was it, 12 comments? 12. Well, and technically, let's change this to a div. Yeah. And then this span would be although it doesn't need to be, I don't think it needs a class necessarily, 12 comments, because presumably if you are pulling in an API or using WordPress and PHP, you would have a function specifically for this span to get this number, to get the number of comments. So, okay, good. And I love questions like that because you guys ask me questions sometimes about things that I hadn't quite thought through. So I like the questions because, you give me ideas for what I need to like place emphasis on. So, and I like that. So we'll call this blog tagged items. And we'll go tagged. And then I would do, I would treat this like navigation. Class, we'll do nav tags. And then we'll give this a class of, how was I doing this? Nav item, nav link. Social nav, social item. Whoops. So we'll say tag item. And I'm going to say tag link. And then what was the first tag? Lifestyle, food, drink. Lifestyle, food, drink. And then what do we have next? Then we have our social sharing. And again, that is navigation. And I think I am going to put these in spans because it's going to give me a little more control with styling. So we'll do class comment count, and then this can just be class comments. There we go. All right, and for this, I'm just going to do a nav element. And I kind of think that we can use these styles, these social nav styles, because it looks, let's find a better view here. This up here in the corner pretty much looks like this down here, right? So let's use those styles, and then for positioning, we'll just do another class. So this is social nav, and then we could call this. So we called this right buttons. Maybe instead we call this, since this is the top header, we'll call this top right, and then we'll call this social nav, but then we'll also call it top left. And I'm going to do an underscore here instead of a dash. So this is the top header. The social nav is what really styles those SVGs. Top left is how we position this container, and then top right is how we position this container. Then we can reuse social nav, social item. Yeah. Did I give this That's okay. So I think we could actually just borrow this. And then I'm going to take this out because we'll need a different class here for positioning this within the blog item container. And then what makes this a sharing link is the URL structure. So I'm not going to get too much into that today, but it's shockingly easy. And I have that code all tucked away because I've done it so many times on other sites I've worked on. So I just have to go get it out of the archive. But it's pretty easy. You do not need an API key for any of the social sites. They all have a URL structure where you can grab the title of the thing you're sharing. Sometimes you do need a little bit of JavaScript. Since this is a static website, we're going to build them as static links. But again, in the future, that would be easily adaptable if you were using a JavaScript framework or a content management system like WordPress. Yeah, so this will probably also need something like, we'll just do blog left, right. We'll say blog right, and then we'll probably need that class for positioning. So social nav, we could call this social sharing. I'm going to change, wait a second, social nav. No, we don't need a separate class for that. It doesn't matter. It's just how it looks, not how it functions. So, yeah, I think that works. I think that works. Okay, so we have our first one done. So for the next two, it's everything except the comments and the tags and continue reading. We don't need continue reading. So let's do this. Blog item. So here's where we would want classes to say what the width is. And I'm not going to put these in their own containers. I'm just going to give them classes because I think we can style them in a grid without them needing to be in separate containers. We're going to try that. And so let's do full width. And then for this, let's say half width. And then we need to take out the continue reading, comments, and tagged. So we're going to take out continue reading. Comments and tags. I'm going to take out blog right. And then this class here, half width or full width, will be what really controls those additional styles that are just slightly unique. Let's see here. I'm actually going to do this. Just copy this. Okay. Close this. So here's our hero, here's our blog layout. Oh, and I did not put, oh, here's our wrap. Okay, good. Here's our blog layout. So we've got full, to half, and then we've got another full that is only the item and the title. The image and the title. So we'll do another article. This is a class of blog item. And I'm also going to give this, I'm going to say full width image. And then we'll do a figure with a class of image, and then an image with a source of and then we'll say forum, pick some random image, and then we have our I kind of want to put the H2 first. Yeah, I'm going to put it first, even though it's positioned towards the bottom. I might ask somebody that I work with if that's the right way to do that. Okay, so now we have a full width image. Then we have 4 more repeating for our grid, so we can just copy these right here. So we've got full width, half width, full width image. You know, it would probably be better to just do full width and then just do image, whoops, image only. And then we've got half, half, half. So yeah, this feels pretty solid to me. I think this feels pretty solid. If we need to put these inside containers, we can. We definitely can. But I don't think we'll have to. But we can if we need to. And then if you were, if you were in a CMS, you would probably put these in containers, and then you would just count the loops. And then you would just have logic that says, based on your loop count, you put in a certain class. So if you, let's say you do a loop count of 4 and you want them to be side by side, you would just say, if loop count is divisible by 2, then do this class, something like that. It's pretty easy to do in a CMS when you're looping through content, that you could just have logic. You count the loops, do a multiple, decide what your layout is, and then add a class based on that. So it's a very clean way to handle layouts, where your content creators don't have to worry about how that layout's going to look. Let's see here. I think we have some pagination down at the bottom. So we'll put in pagination. So we've got older post newer post. So right down here, I'm going to put it outside the section. So we'll do this. We'll say class blog pagination, and then we'll do it's technically not, no, it is navigation, because pagination usually means that the URL changes, right? The URL changes because you're getting yeah, so that's what it is, what we'll do. And we'll say class nav pagination. It's a UL, an LI, and then we'll say class pagination item, older posts, newer posts, older, newer, and then we would probably want to say something like, well, this comes first. We could still do older item, newer item, just to give us a little bit of control when we're styling. Yeah, that works. Older posts, newer posts. I like it. All right. What's happening in the sidebar? Okay. So this will be an aside element. We have about me. We have a title, an image, a short description, and I think this was kind of a signature, like an SVG signature. Then we've got a newsletter. So we've got a title, an input. So we'll need a label and a text. We'll need a label and an input type email. And then we can do an input type submit or a button. And those should be inside of a form element. Then we have a div with a title. We have a thumbnail image, a title, and a category. Then again, we have social navigation links. So this will be another nav element. And then these will link directly to the social icon. So really, these would be the exact same as what's happening in the header, because these header links will link directly to the profiles. So those are just the links of the profile of the site owner or organization. We have an Instagram feed with a title, a grid of images, and the Instagram handle. And then we have a drop down of categories. Like, so again, this would be a, well, this would be a, it's not a form, because you're not submitting anything, but it is a drop down. So I don't think I should use a select, because there's no submit button here. Ask ChatGPT for a little help with this one. Okay. I have a blog site mockup, and the sidebar has a drop down for categories, but there's no submit button. I don't think this is a proper form. Should I just style a list of links to look like a dropdown? ChatGPT is so good for strategy. This is what I love using ChatGPT for, is like strategizing. So let's see what they say. Okay, you're absolutely right to question the usability of a dropdown without a submit button. Here's a breakdown of the best options. Styled list of links. If your goal is simply navigation, clicking a category instantly takes the user to that category page, then a styled list of links that looks like a dropdown is ideal. Advantages: no need for a form or JavaScript for basic functionality. SEO friendly, as each category is a plain anchor element. Faster and more intuitive for users since there's no need to submit. So this is interesting that this is a button, that they're treating it like a button with a UL. Oh, probably because you click it to open it. That's why. Okay. Let's see here. Option 2, functional dropdown with a form. If your design requires a dropdown for filtering or dynamic behavior, you can use a select element and trigger navigation with JavaScript when a selection is made. And then the JavaScript is get element by ID, add event listener change. Okay. Get the value of the option. When to use which. Option 1, when you just need simple navigation and don't need a real form. Option 2, when you have other dropdowns or filters and want a consistent look or feel. I'm going to go with option 1. I'm going to go with option 1, a styled list of links. And I know I know that they put a button here because it's an action, right? You click the button to trigger the dropdown. Yeah. So this would look like a button that says select category. You would click the button select category, and that would trigger a dropdown, and then we can use CSS to style this. That is what we're going to do. I like it. That is what we're going to do. And I'm going to use all of their selected. I'm going to use all of their suggested. We have to get in everything else. Okay, we'll come back to that. Good. I'm glad I asked. Okay, so this is going to be an aside, and we'll start with this. And we're going to call this, we're inside the main wrap blog layout, and we'll call this sidebar layout. Let me see here. So I want it to be inside the main wrap next to the blog layout. I think I'm going to collapse this. Here's our pagination, which is that, I think that is supposed to also be inside. Yeah, I think this also needs to be inside the blog layout. So I'm going to put this here, and then I'm also going to give this full width. Just like that. And then the sidebar needs to be inside this container next to the section. Now we can go ahead and do this. So we'll do this. This will be a class of sidebar. So we'll say, so we're going to give these two classes. I want the first class to be sidebar item, so they can share as many styles as possible. But then I'll add a second class, like about newsletter, things like that. So I have one unique class per item for additional styles. So we'll say sidebar item and then about. And then we have a figure, the class of image. So we're reusing those styles. And this is a random lorem picsum image. And then we've got, I'm gonna do like a little SVG signature. And then we'll just do, just gonna do a paragraph tag with a class of description. We'll do sidebar description. And then we'll do I'll probably add an SVG there. All right, there's our first sidebar item. Div dot sidebar item. I think somebody a couple streams ago said, why aren't you using more Emmet? So I will use more Emmet. And then this is a form. A class form, and we have a label for email, and we're calling this your email address. And we have an input type email. ID is email. I usually do a name, email, and then placeholder, your email address, and then we'll do a button, subscribe. And we'll say button, class, form subscribe. Well, we should do button class buttons so we have some good styles for buttons. Yeah, I don't even think we'll need that. If we do, we'll add it later. Form action. We don't really have an action yet. Class form, label for email. Oh, and then we need our H3, which is a tertiary heading newsletter. All right, now we have latest posts. So these are sidebar item and then latest. Boy, I really feel like I'm on point today with my classes. I usually struggle so much more writing classes. Feeling very good about this. And then we're going to do articles again here. So this is a sidebar blog. We'll do sidebar blog item. And we've got here, I guess an H4. And we'll say sidebar blog title. Oh, and we really need to put the image first, don't we? Image. We'll say lorem random lorem pixum thumbnail image. And then this will need to be in its own container. And we'll say sidebar blog copy. And then we'll just do its category. Div class sidebar blog category. What was it? Fashion. Okay, so we've got an image to the left, and then we have content to the right, so that'll be easy to style with Flexbox. So 2, 3, 4. Love it. So here's about, newsletter, latest posts. What's next? Subscribe and follow. So again, I'm going to give this the same, this is navigation. I'm going to give this the same styles, but one extra class because, let's go to a better example here. This, and up here in the top left, are styled exactly the same. The only difference here is that we've got a round background, and we can just add that background with one extra class. So we're going to borrow these styles and give it one extra class. So I'm just going to grab this. Reuse as much as you can. So we've got a div with a class, sidebar, social, and this is going to be social subscribe. And let's see here. Social nav. I'm going to take out top left, social nav, and I mean, I think we can use social subscribe to add the additional backgrounds. I think that's all we need. I think that'll be fine. And I think we need subscribe and follow. So we need our H3. All right, what is next? Instagram. Oh, sidebar item. Sidebar item, social subscribe. Yeah. Sidebar item. Call this Instagram grid. And we want our H3 with a class of tertiary heading. I think it's just Instagram. And then I am going to put this inside of a container, and I'm going to call this, oops, side. I'm going to call this the sidebar wrap. I'm going to call it sidebar grid. A little more semantic. Sidebar grid. And then now, presumably, if you were building this and you were pulling in the Instagram API, you would also be pulling in, like, I don't know, a caption or a title. I mean, Instagram, the description, maybe the description for the, but the description doesn't describe the image. What would the alt text for an Instagram image be? I'm not even sure. That's an interesting question for ChatGPT. Why haven't I thought of that? Okay. If I'm using the Instagram API to display images on my website, what do I use for the image alt text? The description is usually not a description of an image. It's just text the user wrote. For image alt, yeah, I know. Since Instagram captions often don't describe the image, here's how you can handle this. Generate descriptive alt text automatically. Use Instagram's Graph API, which sometimes includes accessibility captions, auto-generated by Instagram using AI. These are often basic but can provide a good starting point. So check the accessibility caption field in the API response for the image. Use this as the alt text if it's available. Fall back to a default alt text. If no meaningful description is available, create a default alt text based on the type of content. For a picture of food, a photo of food. For a landscape, a scenic view of a landscape. For a pet, a picture of a pet. Extract key elements from captions. If the caption provides some context, you could extract relevant parts to use in the alt text. For example, caption, loving the vibes here, hashtag sunset, hashtag beach life. Alt text, a sunset at the beach. Provide a generic alt text if all else fails. If you can't identify the content, use a generic placeholder like an image from Instagram, a user uploaded photo. Check for accessibility caption. So this is what we would be looking for if we were actually pulling in the Instagram API. Okay, so I'm going to use a photo from Instagram for the purposes of a static website. This would be good information though to put in a README file when I add this to GitHub. Yeah. But for now, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, I don't think we need anything else. As long as we have alt text, you don't have to have any other text. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then outside of this grid, we're just going to go ahead and put a link. Whoop. And I'm going to put that in a paragraph tag because it's block level. All right. So we have our Instagram grid. Now we just need our drop down. And we'll come back and look at this CSS tomorrow when we start styling. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. And this is still a sidebar item. And I'm going to take these out for now. Wow. Look at us. Oh, stop. I can't believe we got this done in less than 2 hours. Okay. So they're repeating. Let's go back to a more. Where's the other? Here we go. So here's what the footer looks like. It's basically the logo, social media icons again, and they're repeating the navigation. Yeah. Right? I have to tell you, I am most proud of how on point I am feeling today with my naming my classes. Because I feel like that's the thing that I am most inconsistent with, or that I spend the most time thinking about. And I feel like I was just like, see, practice finally after how many 6 months of streaming, I'm finally getting better at doing that. That's another reason I wanted to stream, right? Yeah. So let's get this foot. This is great. I mean, this is really awesome to get all of this done today, and then we can just really sink our teeth into styling tomorrow. Just like really sink our teeth into writing the styles, because that's the fun part, right? Getting all the layouts done. And here's the other thing we should do. Let's try to code our own little like mini flexbox grid framework for the layout. I have a tendency to use percentages. I don't really like define columns and things like that. I tend to use percentages. So let's just make, since we're using SAS, since we're using SCSS, let's just make our own little Flexbox grid. We'll ask ChatGPT for some suggestions, but let's just roll our own, right? That's the whole point. That's the beauty of using SAS, is that you can define some of those things and reuse them over and over again. And Bailey says class names are just one of those nuanced things that seem simple enough but can really be a pain sometimes. 100% agree. And other I think Emilio has also said that to me too, how much he sits and agonizes over what class names to use. Me too. But this felt so flawless today, and I'm telling you, the reason it's getting easier for me is because I am practicing more. It's because of these live streams and the amount of practice that I'm getting. I haven't practiced this much since really the beginning of my career, the first few years of my career. So, I think this is just incredibly satisfying. It feels really, really good. I feel like, yes, I'm back in practice. I'm remembering the right way to do things. So, okay. So here's our footer. Our footer basically is full screen. We could still put this in a wrap to make sure everything's contained. I don't think we need to. So let's just go ahead. We have our, honestly, the footer is a repeat almost of the header. So the footer is the logo, the navigation, the social navigation, and the navigation. So let's just reuse these things. And see, here's where PHP templating is going to come in really handy with some of these things, because look at some of these things that are being repeated, that we could really take advantage of PHP with. Although a lot of these social, like the social sharing links, Yeah, a lot of the social sharing links would be dependent on the actual title of the item. We'll play with it. We'll play with it a little bit. So, okay. So here is our social nav, which I'll move below the logo. And we're going to have to change a little markup here. So here's our main logo, which is an H1. I'm going to keep the class primary logo, but I'm going to change this to a div. Because I want those styles to be the same. It'll be light on a dark background, but we have a parent class of footer to help us with that. And then I'm going to take out top left. And again, we have a parent class of footer to help us with positioning here, but it's basically the same thing. And then if we need to add more classes, we can tomorrow once we get into the styling. And then let's grab our navigation. Here is our main nav. And I'm not going to add any extra classes here because I have a parent of footer to help with styling. So I think all of these can stay the same. Yeah. Wow. We did it. Look at that. Let's go down to the bottom here. We'll open everything up so we can see how this is going to be a big page. There we go. Look at that. It's a big page. This is why you don't build, well, first of all, it doesn't matter if you're using a CMS. You have to start building like this. There's no other way around it. This is how you have to do it. You shouldn't be working in your CMS or moving into your CMS code until all of this has been done in your local environment first. All of it. So, this is absolutely the right way to do it, but you can see here why you would use a CMS or some sort of templating or framework to wrangle all this in, right? Because querying a database or using an API makes these things so much cleaner and simpler and more dynamic. But you have to start here. You do. And we can still implement some like PHP templating to clean up our static files, and we will do that. But for now, for this weekend and possibly for next weekend, let's just really work on digging into styling, and then maybe the following weekend we'll get in and we'll do some cleanup. We'll do some we'll figure out like, well, what are we really reusing and what needs to be unique? And the things that are unique can just stay on the page, and then the things that we know we're reusing over and over again, we'll maybe do some PHP templating, and that'll help keep some of these pages a little bit cleaner. Yeah, I like it. We can go look at our browser page. It's gonna be look at that. Look how big it is. Yeah, this page is going to be huge because we have a lot of SVGs on the page, lots of images. We're repeating a lot of content because of that layout. So, but that's okay. That is a-okay. So, I am very, very happy. I'm really happy. I'm really surprised that we got this done in one day so quickly. Let's see here. There we go. Terrific. So I think that a lot, I don't know if so tomorrow we should maybe make a list. I probably should do a little project planning. Let's just make a list of what we need to do tomorrow. Like before we can really dig into the styling. So we need to get our fonts from Google. Ask ChatGPT about making a simple Flexbox SCSS mix-ins / includes grid. Maybe decide on some colors, question mark. It would be nice to not have everything be completely black and white and gray. Add a little color. But I think this is also meant to be kind of a minimal template, right? But I think we could still choose some nice accessible colors. Let's make an SVG signature for the logo and sidebar about me. I probably will do that. I mean, I can do that on my iPad, so I should do that. I'll try to do that in the morning ahead of time. Yeah. So make an SVG signature for the logo and sidebar about me section. What else? That's pretty minimal when it comes to like getting started. Oh, we need to make a Github repo. We can do that now. Let's see here. Repositories. New. No template. Choose an owner, me, and let's just call it blog. All right. Public. Create repository. Make this a little bigger. So let's go to our terminal and we'll say git init, git add, git commit, initial commit, there we go. There we go. That's funny. Our folders for JS and SCSS didn't make it in because I guess because they're empty. That's fine. All right. Wow. This was super fun. I really enjoyed this today. Thank you to all who joined me. Monique, Bailey, who else do we have here? Monique, Bailey, and the coding professional. Thank you for hanging out with me today and joining me in the chat. I know it was an early one. I have some other plans this afternoon, but I didn't want to not stream today because I was genuinely looking forward to working on this. And thank you, Bailey. I hope that these things are helpful for you guys, that you find them informative. They're great for me. Yeah, I have lots of big plans for 2025. Lots of big plans for 2025, and I'm I will admit I'm struggling right now a little bit with time management. Um, because I feel like I have more ideas than time to implement those ideas. So, but I'm getting it figured out. So, we'll get it figured out. And I have big lists of things that I want to work on and lots of ideas. And yeah, so this was amazing. Just like look at that, 1 hour and 58 minutes. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do today. Honestly, I did not think I was going to finish all this HTML in 2 hours. So I think the next few weekends are going to be really fun. So yeah, hope you can join me again tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bailey says, I'd say that's pretty good though. Better than having the time and no ideas. Isn't that the truth? I remember the days when I just went to work and came home and watched TV and I didn't do much else. And I like this a lot better. I love feeling creative and motivated and excited. And I haven't always had those feelings. So you're right. I will absolutely take this. So yeah, thanks again for joining me. I think you guys are amazing. You made 2024 so much fun for me. You have no idea how much I appreciate the people who watch these streams or come hang out with me. Yeah, this has just become a really important part of my life, and I really appreciate you all. So have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Mwah. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.